So you might have noticed through 2 games that the Broncos have this teeny tiny problem that is Damarri Mathis. Because unfortunately, Pat Surtain can't guard 2 guys at once. And Damarri Mathis can't guard anyone. So today's episode is going to check out 5 corners that Denver could sign / should sign to replace Damarri Mathis. Because, well, if you're Damarri Mathis and you're watching this video, now would be a good time to leave. So far through 2 games, Damarri Mathis is the worst cornerback in the National Football League. At least PFF has him graded as the 98th out of 98 qualifying corners through 2 games. Overall grade, 22.9. I think I could get a 20. I probably couldn't get a 22.9, but I could at least get in the low 20s. Damarri Mathis, simply put, has been atrocious. Look at his coverage stats. He is giving out free receptions. He might be a double agent. It's been that bad. 17 targets, 15 receptions allowed. Pretty much every time you throw his way, it is caught. 128 yards and 3 touchdowns allowed. It's only been 2 weeks, and I know it's a little early to really start hitting the panic button, but I'm hitting the panic button. These are unplayable numbers. There has to be a change if these numbers continue. And newsflash, the upcoming opponent, Tua and the Dolphins, with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, if he's healthy, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be awful out there. And I don't know if there's a better cornerback on this roster, but they have to try something else, right? Riley Moss, the corner, the rookie out of Iowa, I don't know if he's the worst corner in practice, but you would think at some point you might want to give him a shot because it really can't be worse than Damarri Mathis. I mean, Damarri Mathis is almost single-handedly responsible for this team being 0-2. That might sound dramatic, but think about it. The guy's given up 3 touchdowns. Denver's lost by a combined 3 points through 2 weeks. He is single-handedly costing this team games. So with that, let's turn our attention to 5 free agent corners out there, starting with Cameron Dantzler. Now, it is September. There is no cornerback out there who's going to come in and save the day and turn this room around. But I don't need him to save the day. I just need him not to be the worst cornerback in football. Dantzler, a former 3rd-round pick out of Mississippi State, which is kind of odd because it's similar to a 1st-round pick out of Mississippi State who picked off Russell Wilson on Sunday. Emmanuel Forbes is a slightly undersized, skinny corner, small frame, but quick and agile, although he's not going to be someone who's going to body up receivers in the red zone. Now, he had brief stints this offseason with the Commanders, the Bills, and the Texans. He was signed and released by all those teams throughout the offseason. His PFF grade from last year is 63.1. I mean, that's 40 points higher than where Damarri Mathis is right now. But Dantzler, throughout his NFL career, you can look at his stats. They're not great. And again, none of these guys are going to be great, phenomenal corners. I just need them to be better than 27. But last year, he had 5 pass breakups in 10 games. He has 3 career interceptions. I'll take what I can get at this point. There's only one problem with Cameron Dantzler. He kind of sort of sucks. And this is what I've been getting towards. None of these guys are going to be phenomenal corners, but I think these players are better than Damarri Mathis. And the only reason why Damarri Mathis is starting for this team is because he was a 4th-round pick last year. So the trend is 4th-round pick, as a rookie, you kind of sit and wait in the wings. And then your 2nd year, hopefully you find a starting role. And lucky for him, Riley Moss missed all the preseason and training camp. So he's so far behind, they don't think he's ready to take on a starting job. So he is just born on third base, right? He continues to start games he has no business starting in for the way he has played so far. So what do you think? Should the Broncos bench Damarri Mathis? Am I being too harsh, or is everyone on the same page that it's unwatchable? Let me know. This is the pinned comment. Scroll on down, type Y for yes, or type N for no. Second guy we're going to talk about is Greedy Williams, another day 2 pick out of the SEC, who just never really caught on with his first team, similar to Dantzler. So Greedy Williams was selected by the Browns out of LSU back in 2019 in round 2. Now, he was always injured in Cleveland. That was the issue. And after his rookie contract expired, he went over to Philadelphia this offseason. I thought that was a good signing by the Eagles, a high ceiling kind of signing. Ultimately, Philly moved on from him in August, And Greedy Williams now has 21 career starts under his belt, so loads of experience, more experience than Damarri Mathis has. And his PFF overall last year was 52.2, so 30 points higher than Cameron Dantzler. But you look at Greedy Williams' stats throughout his NFL career, 2 interceptions, 12 pass breakups. Like I said, the issue with Greedy Williams has not been so much revolving around his play. It's been the lack of availability, right? The inability to trust that you have a guy who can suit up and play every single Sunday. He was a solid corner for the Browns. Ask Browns fans. People don't have bad things to say about Greedy in coverage. They just don't really know who Greedy Williams is because he missed a lot of time. But if he's healthy now and if he can play for the next 15 games, sign me up. I am in. Now, if you have not signed up for subscribing to this free channel, help a guy out. We are 7 subs away from a big milestone, 16,000. We had our Chat Sports company-wide meeting today, and if you have a boss that rides your ass, well, you could probably sympathize with me. So let's get me to the next milestone, 16,000 subs, and hit the sub button down below. Now, on to a familiar face. What about a reunion? Who's in? Bradley Roby. Of course, the first-round pick out of Ohio State by the Denver Broncos back in 2014. Played 5 years in Denver, then moved on, went to Houston, then went to most recently New Orleans, where he played under Sean Payton for 1 season in 2021. And if we know anything about Sean Payton, he is all about bringing the band up to Denver. Now, he was released by New Orleans during their roster cutdowns as the Saints were trying to find a trade. No one wanted to trade for him, so the Saints ultimately just cut him. Now, when you look at what he's done over the last 4 years, because he's got a lot more experience than the first 2 guys we talked about, it hasn't been glamorous, and that was sort of the issue with him in Denver, which was he's an awesome CB3, but not a lot of teams are looking for CB3s in the first round. But Bradley Roby, throughout his career in Denver, he played 5 seasons, 7 interceptions, 60 pass breakups. If I remember, this was, a little while ago now. He hasn't played there since, 2018? We're going on 6-7 years from now. It was always a roller coaster with Roby, right? 1 good year followed up by a disappointing season, then a bounce-back year, then back to being a bit of a disappointing season. Altogether, I don't have many bad things to say about Bradley Roby as a corner. It wasn't worthy of a first-round pick looking back, but it wasn't like he was some all-time bust. He's got familiarity with the team and, of course, with Sean Payton. I'm in. Again, we are looking for a guy to Band-Aid us just through the rest of the season and not be a ginormous liability that every opposing team's offensive meetings leading up to their game against the Denver Broncos is, what's the game plan? Throw it towards 27, because it has worked for the first 2 quarterbacks. And the first 2 quarterbacks aren't world beaters. It's Jimmy Garoppolo and Sam Howell. And Denver has made them look like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. So let me know, should the Broncos bring back Roby? Would you be interested in a reunion? You can type S for sign or P for pass. It's been a little while. I don't have a bad taste in my mouth over Bradley Roby's stint in Denver. I didn't come away with it thinking this is going to be the CB1 for the next 8 or so years, but I think he's better than Damarri Mathis. Our 4th veteran free agent corner we're going to look at is Casey Hayward. Similar to Roby, he's been around the block for a lot longer than the first 2 guys. He was a 2012 second-round pick out of Vanderbilt by the Green Bay Packers. He has 2 Pro Bowls under his belt, coming with the Chargers back in 2016 and 2017. Now, last year he played with the Atlanta Falcons, only 6 games, and in that 6th game, he suffered a season-ending shoulder injury, was placed on IR. The Falcons released him 1 year into a 2-year contract. Now, when you compare Casey Hayward to Bradley Roby, they've got a lot of experience under their belts, right? 152 games for Hayward, 25 career interceptions. I know that in the summer, during the offseason, he said he's healthy, he's ready to make a comeback, and he's just waiting for that right opportunity. And we know that teams into the first couple of weeks of the season, they suffer injuries or they suffer just absolutely downright dog shit play, and that causes the teams to go to free agency going, well, we gave our guy a shot. It hasn't worked out. Let's go to something we know that works. And it might not be long-term, which for these 2 guys, there's no long-term picture left with their age, but it's at least a better option than what we currently have. I think Hayward, and this kind of goes for Roby, is a veteran player that can be relied on, right? Can pick up the playbook, He can get done what the coach wants to get done. It's not going to be 17 targets, 15 receptions. Might not be a bunch of pick sixes, might not be a lockdown corner, but it's just better than what we currently have at this point. Now, we have one more player to look at, which we're going to in just a moment. But make sure you pay a visit over to our sponsor today, which is BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Enter promo code Broncos125. When you do those two things, you get a 125% deposit bonus. Now, if you are brave enough to take on the Broncos 6.5-point spread against Miami, salute to you. I'm with the over. I think Russell Wilson has shown that they can score points this year. We know the Dolphins can score points. They are one of the best scoring offenses so far. So give me the over. Whatever picks you want to make, though, just do it at chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Broncos125 will unlock a 125% deposit bonus. Fifth and final free agent corner is not a household name. It's Grant Haley. Now, if I've got any college football aficionados, this name might ring a bell for you. He was a UDFA back in 2018 out of Penn State and signed with the Giants. But his most notable play came when he was a Nittany Lion. He had the field goal return for Penn State to beat Ohio State back then. So if you remember that play, that's this guy here. Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot of tape on him. He's only played in 10 games over the last 3 years. That's a combination of just being on practice squads versus being injured at times. But when he did play last year, and albeit a small sample size, 4 games for the Rams, he put up some good numbers, 68.0 PFF grade. But in his career, here are his stats: 94 tackles, 6 pass breakups, 1 interception, and 7 tackles for loss. Again, what is the name of the game, everyone? We are looking for someone better than Damarri Mathis. And I think Grant Haley, or anyone else for that matter, is probably / definitely a step up at this point. I absolutely think Denver should be looking into the cornerback market. It's just 2 games, so you can call me a victim of being a prisoner of the moment and overreacting, but these 2 games have been unplayable for Damarri Mathis. I mean, he is lucky that there is a rookie corner behind him. If there was anyone who has any sort of experience, I think a change would have already been made. But Denver should absolutely be picking up the phone, seeing which cornerbacks are out there, who's in shape, and who can get on the next flight to Denver, because at this rate, he's going to cost this team more points as they continue to lose very close games that sure might not all be on him. There's plenty of blame to go around. But when one corner is responsible for 3 touchdowns and you lost by 1 point in week 1 and 2 points in week 2, don't you think that guy might be on the hook more so than other people? All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. If you enjoyed our coverage, consider subscribing to the channel. We're going to keep you guys in the loop all season long. So hit the sub button down below, and let's get to 16,000 subscribers.